The Comfort Women Scholarship Program was established by a very generous gift from one of the donors to CARE under the condition of anonymity. This year, we have presentations from 5 schools, but next year, we will have presentations from 7 schools. This gift is extremely timely because the history revisionism in academia is ever more escalating, not only in Japan, but also in Korea and the United States. It is truly regrettable that the Harvard law professor Mark Ramjayer is in the forefront of this history revisionism, calling the Comfort Women hoax and fake memoir. With this scholarship, we are hoping to reach out to young minds who are not familiar with the history, provide meaningful experience for the awardees to delve deep into the lives of the Comfort Women, and to produce meaningful research and creative work products that will enrich the discussion on the Comfort Women issue and find relevance with the present-day sexual violence in the military conflict, and also to reach out to a broader public audience to help them understand this important human rights issue. So I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to the donor once again, and thank all the professors who administered the fund and guided the students at each school, and the awardees who have put enormous amount of time and energy into their projects. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Seowon Park, an undergraduate geography student at Vassar College. But before her, I'd like to introduce Professor Peipei Chu, who has been instrumental in the research of the Comfort Women issue, as well as the advisor to Seowon's project. Peipei.
Thank you, Phyllis, for all your work. It's remarkable that you spend so much time and energy and making sure everything goes well. And thanks to the donors and supporters. I would also like to thank my colleague, Hiromi Dollase. She is the committee chair of this award selection. And she has been working tirelessly supporting SUN's research and all other logistics. And thank you, Hiromi. You want to say something?
I just want to say thank you very much for your generous support, and then thank you very much to the donors.
Wonderful. So Seowon, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. And I also want to thank Professor Chu and Professor Dollase and Professor Moon for their committed support. At Vassar, I benefited from the consultation from all 3 of these professors, and they were really more than willing to have in-depth conversations about their work and were very generous as mentors. And I also want to thank the CARE team for providing this platform and initiating all our CARE projects. So just a brief rundown of what my CARE project is. It's a memoryscape of Kunsan in which I explore the city's representation of the Comfort Women issue. And I'm connected to Kunsan because I was born there before my family immigrated to the US. And the intention for centering my film as a travelogue is to pay attention to the shifting representations of the Comfort Women issue. And by making a travelogue, I want my audience to understand that the Comfort Women issue is not statically held in one particular moment. It's dynamically shaped by the politics and culture of the surrounding region and can be told differently from person to person. And I intend to show my film to students at Vassar and other people in the US who may be unfamiliar with the history of Japanese imperialism and the Comfort Women issue. So given this context, I wanted people to also be critical about the way that it can be represented and see the potential for its representation to highlight the voices and experiences of Comfort Women survivors. So I'll be playing a 6-minute opening sequence of a longer 20-minute film, and then afterwards, I'll provide a presentation explaining more about where the narrative follows after this clip. So I'll just be sharing my screen now. And please let me know if it's hard to hear the audio, and I can switch to a video that has a louder audio.
그때 그 시절을 기억합니다. I remember that time, a city made into a museum of itself. The 1930s, which evoked memories of modernization and tragedy that Koreans faced from Japanese colonizers. As I observe the tourists walk into the time travel tunnel, I wonder how they are able to resolve their grief and find enjoyment in their surroundings. They march inside as if it was a ceremony traveling back into the 1930s. The neon pink archway is adorned with sparkling stars. In front of the entrance are letter blocks spelling out, I love you, 군산 시간 여행. The city brands itself with the phrase, hello modern. It is a welcome gesture towards modernization. At every corner of every street is a vignette of the period. The people of modernization are characterized by a couple with European-style clothes. They are there to recognize that modernization is culturally significant as it introduced the lifestyle Koreans continue today. Bronze statues of characters in Chemanchik's turbid rivers line the exterior of one museum. The despair in their body language is obscured by the pleasure practiced by those in the space. Images of Japanese officials and Korean laborers are visible throughout the city, redeeming the inconsistencies in the Japanese colonial theme. As tourists see the images again and again, they are meant to remember what had happened. At the end of one museum is a photo exhibition of images of comfort women, while through the rest of the museum, tourists can learn about the forced labor of Koreans. There is no description accompanying the photos of comfort women. I encounter a painting that looked eerily similar to the Sonyeosang, Statue of Peace. 또 다른 소녀, another girl, was the title the artist chose to encapsulate the meaning of her piece. 소녀, girl, closing the gap between her painting and the comfort woman. Her drawing of the comfort woman resembles the bronze statues that symbolizes comfort women survivors as young women. The girl in the painting has short cropped hair that reaches the end of her ears and wears a Korean traditional dress, or hanbok. Instead of dignified, scolding eyes looking straight ahead, her eyes are downcast in an almost apologetic, sorrowful manner. 또 다른 소녀 relied heavily on the symbolic reproductions of comfort women to tell a story about their struggle. The painting took on their elusive references to comfort women in the Sonyeosang by matching the bronze girl's hairstyle and costume, but it didn't capture the resistance in her eyes, contained posture, and clenched fists. The processions of moving through a museum, a memory made static by a model of that time. The experience becomes a motif in which suffering can be relayed by the uniforms, actions, and staging of the scene. 우리나라, our country, a sense of connectedness rooted in our language. 우리, our, serves to resolve the breakages by bringing us together under the same history, a feeling of intimacy that unifies us as one. The Japanese military forcibly mobilized hundreds of thousands of young girls and women to provide sexual labor to soldiers during the Second World War. The term comfort woman is a cruel euphemism for the military sexual slavery. Standing around the Sonyeosang, we listen as a tour guide recites the history of colonization.
So this was the short opening sequence to a longer film. And at the start of my film, I felt that the representation displaced the suffering of the Haimonies and sidelined their redress activism. And I thought instead, by centering the comfort woman history and activism through Kunsan's modern history belt, there could be the potential for the recognition that the memory of colonization is not fixed. And I was in Korea from February to the end of August, which enabled me to learn about other comfort women representations. And I found that there was a global solidarity network between the comfort women activist spaces, like in Tokyo, Taipei, and then in Seoul. And then in recognizing the transnationality of the comfort woman issue, its representation can de-emphasize the attitude of us versus Japan. I also volunteered for 2 months at the Warren Women's Human Rights Museum in Seoul, which is one of 2 comfort woman museums there. And as a tour guide, I provided English introductions to the international tourists, learning how they encountered the comfort woman issue in their countries. And I participated in the Wednesday demonstrations, seeing the politics that frame the comfort woman story. And there I had the opportunity to speak with the activists, learning that many actually identified with the queer community and saw intersections in their activism between the LGBTQ and the comfort woman causes. And overall, the experience helped me to see the comfort woman issue and its representation in Korea as dynamic. And during the last quarter of my trip, I discovered other representations of Kunsan. When I re-entered the Tourist Information Center, I met a tour guide who actually directed me to a peace museum on the demilitarization movement in Kunsan. And there I came across a nun who I then traveled with to a protest against the Kunsan Air Base's airport expansion in Saebangum. And together it helped me to realize the potential in the activism that exists in Kunsan and really bring comfort women voices to the forefront. And thus, by showing this travelogue video, I want my audience to recognize that the comfort woman activism is contemporary and relevant to the audience who in the US. So yeah, thank you to everyone watching my presentation. And for the grand opportunity to create my film and travel to Korea.
Wow, thank you so much, Seowon, for taking us to Korea, especially Kunsan, and showed us how people in different places and different times are remembering the comfort women in various ways. It's really inspiring, and I can't wait to see your full film. And for the audience, if you have any questions for any of our panelists today, please use the Q&A function in the Zoom, and we will try to cover them at the end. Next panelist is Jennifer Jung-Kim, who teaches Korean history at UCLA. This year, Center for Korean Studies at UCLA, CKS, hosted a student contest on the comfort women issue, and Jennifer will share the result with us. Jennifer?
Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so we had our first of what we hope will be an annual creative project contest about comfort women. It was our first year. We didn't have quite as many entries as I was hoping. Hold on a second. Okay, so we had a lot of art projects, poetry. So just wanted to show you a couple of our honorable mentions. This is Laura Kubiatko called White Chrysanthemums, and she shows the Korean young woman on the right, a Filipino young woman and a Chinese young woman, their hands in solidarity. And she purposefully made it so that there's this unseen arm, or well, we see the arm, but the unseen person on the to our left. And this is Youngyu Park, who took the statue imagery from the peace statue with the taegeuk and also the mugunghwa. And we had 3 third-place winners, 2 second-place winners, and 1 first place. And this is Annika Brucia, who actually was compelled to submit 2 pieces together. So we see this here, and then also a second piece called The Resilience of Women. And then we have, this was also 3rd place, Chaeyeong Chang, a bilingual poem in Korean and English with her original artwork as well. She calls this 우리 할머니, or grandma. And I'm not going to pause enough for people to see, but with the recording, you can stop and then read it in more detail. So this is our third place winner, Danya Nubarastan, and she wrote poem with more contemporary images relating to comfort women. So before they submitted their project, they had to read a recommended piece about comfort women so that they'd be more informed about the issues. And then moving on, we have Joyce Kim. This piece is called Hope of the Young Girl, 2nd place with the butterfly imagery. And a young woman, again, reminiscent of the statue. And this is Rainer Lee, 2nd place, with a poem called I Will Speak Still. And finally, we have our 1st place winner, and this is a video. So let me show that. So you can't hear the water, but it's this really interesting multimedia piece where she's got a water pump in there. And so you see it come down like tears. And she designed this and made the head, everything herself. And so Violet Misoko, she was our 1st place winner. And then we had another event at UCLA very recently on November 7th. And this was one of our faculty members in music. And she she curated this whole performance called Unforgotten Song. And her professional name that she performs under, her artist name is Kamin. And so it's this music and multimedia work. And she was accompanied by a few other people. And let me show you some of it. So it was several different pieces, and there was music, there was poetry, and there was this amazing video presentation that went with it. So let me show you some pictures. So this was in a studio space in the art center, and we had video images, the same one on 3 different walls. So it was also just to be in the space and to hear the music, the poetry recited, and to see the imagery on the 3 walls was really something. And it also highlighted that it's not just a Korean issue, but had featured survivors from different countries. So this was a poetry reading. This was bilingual poetry in English and Korean. And this is Kamin performing on the PD with lots of images of different comfort women survivors. And for this piece, they showed lots of images from the different halmoni and their rooms, kind of also giving a very private look into how they're living now. And this gives you a sense of at least 2 of the screens that we had with the different imagery. Whoops, sorry. Hold on a second. Okay. See the different instruments there. Again, giving you a very, this is from a Chinese survivor, showing the very, a very intimate look at how they're living today. And I had one more video piece. Oh, wait, this one's also video, I think. Yes, this one's also video. Let me show you part of this.
마음을 편하게 해준다. 늘 곁에서 누군가 말을 걸어주는 것처럼. 그날은 일본말이 귀에 들어왔다.
These are just very short clips, but just wanted to give you a little sense of that. And then thought I had one more video piece, but I'm not seeing it. So that's at the end. And just to highlight a little bit of what we're doing. So during this academic year, we are doing further work on the online archive. We're fortunate to also have an year-long intern, Shannon Lee, who's joining us in the audience today. Right now, she's just kind of getting familiar with the issues, but starting in January, she'll be working on the online archive. We plan to have a second creative project contest in the spring, and we are talking with a faculty member about sponsoring another faculty performance for next year. And oh, this is the online archive. That's already up and running, but we will be adding more documents to that. We're really excited to do this. And again, we're very grateful to Phyllis Kim, CARE, and the donor who's making this all possible so that we can continue to educate our students, but also the larger community about this, about the issues of the comfort women and how this is still an unresolved issue, and we need to continue to educate and act in order to hopefully one day bring a resolution to this. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Wow. Yes. Thank you for sharing the wonderful activities at UCLA. This is the kind of inspiration we are looking to stir up at each school by creating this scholarship. It's so wonderful to see various activities at UCLA, and I really look forward to seeing a lot more coming up next year. Great. Okay, one of the colleges that received the scholarship is Sogang University in Korea, with which CARE has partnered to create 2 AI-based interactive video programs called Eternal Testimony under the leadership of Professor Jung-Kim. Sogang University selected 3 teams who carried out some very interesting and innovative projects. They are joining us from Korea, where it's early in the morning, so thank you for joining us. Saetbyeol, Leeyouk, Chaeyeong, Jumyung, and Dasol. Let's welcome the students. Saetbyeol.
Hello, I'm Saetbyeol.
And Chaeyeong from Team Dance With. Presenting our project, Testimony Continues.
Our journey began with a critical question. As future generation living in Korea, how do we remember the tragedy of comfort women after the last survivor is gone? So our first step involved researching the stories of forgotten victims. We discovered a social memory was trapped in a binary. Victims were memorized either as seen as young girls, like Sonya, or as elderly women, 할머니. Yeah, this binary overshadowed diverse stories. We wanted to know the victim's memory between younger and grandmother, which is the time after war ended. There were diverse stories, including those who lived outside of Korea, suffered further exploitation, or silenced by social pressures because of patriarchy and political dynamics between South and North Korea. Recognizing these stories, we recognize our responsibility to remember those overlooked. We turn those stories to technology. Through 3D web storytelling, we've recreated rooms of 4 forgotten victims. Their testimonies were summarized in the introduction of the official testimony record, remained anonymous. This immersive experience allows participants to connect deeply with these untold stories. Each participant's interaction, writing reports and comments, feeds into an AI system. This weaves together collective, real-time testimonies from our generation. Let's see how this impacted. This was our video, and we are now sharing our final testimonies in our website. This was our presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Wow, the testimony continues through the generations, and participation by this young generation is just so impressive with the use of technology. We'll hear from Jumyung now. Jumyung.
Hello, my name is Jumyung from Team UDN at Sogang University. For our project, we aim to encourage, we aim to encourage people to engage with the issue of comfort woman. We have created an exhibition and a video with teenagers who are of the same age as the comfort women were during that time and represent the future generation. To make people understand how serious the comfort woman issue is and to show them why it's important to get involved, we conducted the following exhibition. We will now show you the results of our work through a video. Please understand that the video might not be very smooth as it has been shortened due to the limited presentation time.
위안부 피해자분들이 이제 아픔을 버리고 훨훨 자유로 날아가실 수 있게
그 한 마리 나비한테 손짓을 했는데 그 나비가 제 손짓으로 여러 마리로 이렇게 날아갔잖아요. 이렇게 내 손짓이 내 손길이 되게 필요했었던 거였구나 라는 생각이 되게 들었고
드레스를 보고 다 이런 삶을 원하지 않았을까 사실은.
그 꿈이 얼마나 소중하고 대단한 건지 느꼈으면 좋겠어요.
제가 쓴 텍스트가 그때 보라색이라고 나왔는데 저는 개인적으로 보라색이 뭔가 차분하고 좀 안정적인 색이라고 생각을 하거든요. 그래서 제가 만든 텍스트의 그 색을 통해서 할머님들께서 좀 위로가 되고 안정감을 가지셨으면 좋을 것 같습니다.
이런 일에 대해서 저희의 관심 하나하나가 다 힘이 되는 것 같았어요.
조금이라도 위로가 되고 조금이라도 내가 적었던 마음이 할머님한테 또는 그때 당시에 할머님들한테 조금이나마 힘이 되고 위로가 됐으면.
저희 하나하나 작은 사람들이 모여서 빛을 낼 수 있다고 생각이 들어서 바꿀 수 있다고 이 문제를 저희가 꼭 해결해 드려야겠다는 생각이 들었어요.
드레스를 많은 빛을 봤을 때 굉장히 처음에는 그저 예쁘다라고 생각했었는데 그 앞에 제가 텍스트를 쓰고 그 텍스트가 빛으로 전환되는 과정을 보면서 많은 사람들의 말이 그렇게 피해 할머님들을 좀 위로해주고 있다 이런 생각이 들었습니다.
여러분들도 만나고 제가 얘기라도 할 수 있으니 참 행복하다 하는 걸 지금 느끼고 있습니다.
저도 그 문제에 대해서 정확히 알고 사람들과 함께 이야기 나누면서 세상에 대대로 알리는 것, 그리고 어린 친구들에게도 제대로 알려주는 것, 그게 제 역할이라고 생각합니다.
앞으로 저희가 살아가는 세상인 만큼 모두가 관심을 가졌으면 좋겠습니다.
우리가 역사를 알아야 한다고 생각합니다.
빛나는 10대 여러분들, 시대가 흐르고도 우리에게는 위안부 문제가 있었음을 잊지 않고 기억합시다.
Thank you for listening to my presentation and thank you for this great opportunity.
Wow, thank you, Jumyung. It's really impressive that you chose to involve the young adults who are at around the same age as the victims themselves at the time of their suffering, and it really is powerful and moving to see the connections they are making with the harmonious stories and history. Thank you so much. Now, let's hear from Dasol.
Hello, today I'm presenting Tito, an artificial being. Tito is an AI character that empathizes with the issue of Japanese military comfort women. This project combines conversation with Tito, music, and visual art into a unique experience. Tito aims to share the stories of comfort women survivors in a modern way. After the exhibit, Tito was made available on a website. We will now watch a short video about Tito.
이 프로젝트가 이제 일본군 위안부 문제에 대해서 예술로서 사람들에게 알리는 프로젝트라는 얘기를 들었고, 그 프로젝트를 구상했을 때 가장 중점에 뒀던 거는 일본군 위안부 생존자, 그리고 이제 인권운동을 하시면서 수요 집회를 참여하시는 많은 할머니 분들께서 고령의 연세로 이제 돌아가시고 계시다는 점, 그래서 이거를 기억하고 계속 이야기할 수 있는 주체가 점점 사라지고 있다는 안타까움이 컸던 것 같아요. 근데 그것들이 어떤 과거에 박제된 증언이 아니라 좀 지금 여기서 다시 얘기되는 현재의 이야기로 살바꿈했으면 좋겠다 그런 생각이 들어서 그래서 어떻게 보면 홈즈 할머니들의 정말 고유의 그 증언과 가장 반대쪽에 있을 수도 있는 가상의 존재 AI를 이 작업으로 가져오게 됐던 것 같습니다. AI 자체는 언제 어디서나 누구나 접속해서 외부로 대화를 할 수 있는 존재이기 때문에 이 문제를 잘 알고 있지 않은 사람이라도 이것에 대해서 얘기하고 싶을 때 그리고 공감하고 또 정보뿐만 아니라 또 감정을 나누고 싶을 때 찾아갈 수 있는 존재가 될 수 있을 거라는 기대가 들어서 가상의 존재 디토를 생각하게 됐습니다. 저희는 좀 딱딱할 수 있는 인공의 존재가 어떤 온기를 가진 좀 감성적인 존재로 느껴졌으면 좋겠다. 할머니들이 좋아했던 노래, 몽골포 타령이나 정선 아리랑을 테마로 한 곡을 작곡해서 대화를 하는 와중에 들을 수 있게 했고 또 디토라는 존재를 조금 더 살아있는 존재처럼 느끼게 했으면 해서 디토의 모습을 상징하는 그런 비주얼 아트를 같이 제작했고 전시에서는 그것들을 같이 경험하면서 디토와 대화를 나눌 수 있도록 했습니다. 그래서 그 비주얼 아트는 어떤 한 명의 명확한 얼굴이 아닌 되게 다양한 사람들의 다양한 얼굴이 서로 스쳐 지나가는 그래서 그게 디토 자체가 뭔가 정답을 주는 존재가 아니고 그냥 우리 자신이기도 한 그런 존재처럼 느껴졌으면 하는 바람으로 그런 비주얼 아트와 사운드 작업 그리고 인공지능을 이용한 이제 대화의 경험을 같이 엮어서 전시하게 되었습니다.
거리가 좀 좁혀졌달까요? 아무래도 이제 위안부라는 주제이다 보니까 마음을 좀 가라앉히게 하면서도 그 디토라는 어떤 존재의 느낌이 뭔가 좀 실체화된 느낌이 들어서 디토라는 사실 존재가 좀 궁금해지기도 했어요. 그냥 글로 돼 있는 거임에도 불구하고 그걸 봤을 때 오히려 그 앞선 영상을 봤을 때 비해서도 더 뭔가 그 막 마음이 움직이고 그런 느낌이 들더라고요. 그래서 신기한 체험이었어요.
마지막으로 조금 바라는 게 있다면 제가 관심을 가지고 있는 부분은 이 디토와 대화하는 것이 일본군 위안부 문제에 대한 관객들의 생각이나 감정을 어떻게 좀 변화시킬지가 되게 궁금하고 그게 어느 정도 그래도 관심을 기울이고 뭔가를 해볼 수 있겠다라는 마음으로 전환될 수 있다면 무엇보다도 좋을 것 같습니다.
The audience evaluated that the tool provided appropriate empathy and rich information. However, there's a need to improve how Ditto corrects wrong information during conversations. To improve this, we plan to create a database of comfort women historical materials and use it to train Ditto. Additionally, we aim to enable communication through voice rather than just text to improve more natural interactions. Lastly, we are developing a system that finds and displays images containing information relevant to the context of a conversation with users. And our hope is that Ditto becomes an inspiration for global awareness towards the comfort woman issue. Thank you.
Wow, I am really, really impressed. Isn't that amazing, everybody? I think we definitely can take advantage of some of these experiments and in the educational programs in the United States. This is amazing. Thank you so much. It was inspirational. Okay, next up. At Cal State University Northridge, we've been working with Professor Jung-Kim of communications, and she's been amazing supporter of the comfort women issue, and she has been initiating many projects at CSUN to open up a space for the discussion relating to the comfort women issue. Professor Kim will introduce Associate Professor Junliang Huang, who was the awardee of this project. Jinah?
Thank you so much, Phyllis. I just wanted to briefly offer my thanks to CARE, to you, Phyllis, and the anonymous donor for making this fellowship possible. It's done amazing things for us at CSUN. Here, we started the fellowship last year, and our goal was to support research, scholarship, or arts conducted by CSUN faculty or students. So last year, during which was the first year of the fellowship, we had 4 excellent applications from faculty members, and Dr. Junliang Huang was selected by a panel of judges. This year, we've opened up the fellowship, and we've received applications from 2 students and 3 faculty members so far. And so we're really excited that students are, going to be able to, produce works that we've seen like today that will move hearts and minds. And so I also want to offer thanks to the various departments at CSUN who've enthusiastically supported this fellowship, including Dean Jeffrey Reeder from the College of Humanities and the faculty in Asian American Studies, Asian Studies, and Gender and Women's Studies. In particular, Dr. Drake Lanford, Dr. Tina Bayene, and Dr. Clement Lai, who were the first judges for the round of applications. So thank you, and I can't wait to hear Junliang's presentation.
Thank you so much, Jinah. Hi, everyone. My name is Junliang Huang. I teach at CSUN, and I'm still so deeply moved and impressed by all the wonderful and powerful works presented today so far. And I feel like suddenly my own work it doesn't look interesting anymore, but I will still finish my presentation because I'm so impressed by all the works presented so far. And first of all, I would also like to express my gratitude for the organizers, for the donors, and for Phyllis, and of course my dear colleague Professor Jung-Kim, and the committee for your tireless and very meaningful work to make this grand opportunity possible. And today I'm going to talk about my one chapter in my book manuscript entitled Allegory of Wound, Decolonizing Wartime Sexual Violence in Post-War Japan. I think this scholarship has greatly supported the completion of one of the chapters that discusses the comfort woman issue. And the title of the chapter is Unimagining the Body of the Comfort Woman, Violence, Agency, and the Possibility of Revolution. And in this chapter, I begin with the critical analysis of the Japanese post-war writer Tamura Taijiro's so-called literature of the flesh, or Nikudai Bungaku. This influential literary genre emerged in the immediate post-war years in Japan, utilized by notable writers, including the famous Dazai Osamu and Sakaguchi Ango, and of course Tamura himself, serving as a means for them to reflect on the war and envision Japan's post-war future. However, unlike other writers in this genre, Tamura lived and fought in China as an imperial soldier for 6 years between 1940 and 1946. I have a, let me see. Yeah, okay, this one. To the right, you can see this is Tamura Taijiro, and he was with his fellow Japanese soldiers. And I believe the first row are the local collaborators. And to the left, I found this picture in a collection that I'm going to talk about later. This is a very suggestive picture, although the sign in Chinese, it says that, it kind of praises the so-called collaboration between the Japanese soldiers and the local people. But as we can see, the power relations here, the local people is pulling the rickshaw. And this is, I don't think this is Tamura himself. His face is a little bit hard to see, but it's definitely a Japanese imperial soldier or officer. So, upon Tamura's return, he rediscovered this concept of body, the human body, to declare the bankruptcy of wartime thought, or shiso, promoted by the Japanese Empire. For him, the body embodies individual agency, liberation, and freedom. It serves not only as the basis for critical understanding of history, but also as a locus for finding spiritual salvation for the future. Essentially, by restoring humanity and subjectivity through the sexuality of the body, Tamura attempts to make the defeat of Japan a radical turning point and prefigure the trajectory of post-war Japanese history. And I must point out that we can observe a similar trend of thought in quite a few popular writers and thinkers in immediate post-war Japan, along with criticisms of it. The most famous case being the leading Japanese political scientist Maruyama Masao's critique of the literature of the flesh in his 1949 essay. And because of his experience on the battlefront in China, Tamura often portrays the women he encountered in wartime China, including many comfort women in his work. He clearly criticizes the war, condemns the hierarchical structure of the Japanese military, and praises the female victims for their strength, resilience, and so-called free spirit, despite their difficult circumstances. However, at the same time, he constantly places them within the frame of a love story with the soldiers, wherein these women become aware of their own carnal desires. And this dual portrayal makes the critique of wartime sexual violence in Tamura's work contradictory and essentially problematic. Consequently, the body of, and we can see here is an example. This is the cover of one of the best known stories by Tamura Taijiro. It's called Biography of a Prostitute, or in Japanese, it's called Shimpuden. And just by looking at the cover, it doesn't, I myself cannot imagine that this is a story about a comfort woman. And in the story, the comfort woman falls in love with the Japanese soldier, and at the end of the story, both of them commit suicide. And consequently, the body of his female protagonist was mostly perceived by post-war Japanese society as nothing more than erotic. So when this novel, it was a great hit and was very popular at the time. And this is the it's the poster of this particular story on the stage, and as we can see, the erotic female body once again becomes the focus of the whole image of the story. And this is they made a movie out of it in 1965, and similarly they also focus on the erotic and so-called romantic part of it. So with the support of the scholarship this year, I visited the Mie Prefecture Library in Tamura's hometown. I think here, yeah, this is the picture of the Mie Prefecture Library because Tamura is from Mie. So I was able to visit the library, which holds a collection of Tamura's works, including pictures and unpublished manuscripts donated by Tamura's daughter. I discovered several valuable pieces that illuminate Tamula's view of the war and wartime sexual violence, as well as the victims. This collection provides, so for example, some of his manuscript that never got published. So I think this collection provides textual evidence shedding light on what he meant, what Tamula meant when he referred to the comfort women as prostitutes, as he did in the title of the story, Biography of a Prostitute. And of course, the goal of my chapter is not merely to evaluate a writer or a specific literary genre. The crucial question here is whether the modern subjectivity constructed through concepts such as love and desire within the framework of heterosexuality is a justifiable way to imagine the independence and resistance of the comfort woman. Given the extremely exploitative, violent, and life-threatening environment of the comfort station, I argue that romantic love as a structure of feeling in Raymond Williams' definition, symbolizing freedom, autonomy, and equality in the discourse of modernity cannot exist. In fact, according to survivors' testimonials, what Tamula depicts as romantic love for them was more like something they clung to so that they wouldn't go crazy. Or sometimes it was simply a strategy to find protection from these Japanese soldiers in order to survive. As we can see from this picture, which this is a picture that I found from the collection held in the Mie Prefecture Library. This woman is believed to be, she's a Chinese woman, and people believe that she is the woman who appears in Tamula's novel. And we can see from the body language that this is by no way romantic or romantic love between the two. We can clearly see that she was not happy and she was not comfortable with the soldier. So if so, then the question becomes, can the kind of revolution of the body depicted in the literature of the flesh truly make the comfort woman a revolutionary figure? So in the summer of 2022, to gain a better understanding of the real experiences of the comfort women, I began interviewing Mr. Zhang Shuangbing, a retired village teacher considered China's first grassroots researcher of the comfort woman. And I must thank Professor Peipei for connecting me with not just Zhang Shuangbing, but a lot of researchers of the comfort woman in China. So thank you so much. Zhang has played the role of a mediator and a recorder while working with the survivors. And this is just one of the many reports and books that he has published. Over the past 30 plus years, Zhang has interviewed survivors and their families in China, including but not limited to those from the Yuxian and Yangquan areas in Shanxi province, which is here, because Zhang is from here, and this is exactly the same area where Tamula was stationed when he was sent to China as an imperial soldier before the war or during the war. And the story, Biography of a Prostitute, is also set precisely here in Yuxian. With the support of the scholarship this year, I interviewed Zhang again in July 2023. During this recent interview, we discussed, among other things, we discussed also the Korean comfort woman in Yuxian in China, as some of the Chinese survivors had mentioned them to Zhang. Unable to speak either Japanese or the local dialect, these Korean women left almost no traces of their terrifying experiences. However, they were seen and remembered by some of the Chinese comfort women survivors. One woman recalls that the Korean woman she met at the comfort station in Yuxian or in the area rarely spoke to them, but they saw her often, and sometimes she would smile and wave to them. We knew that we were probably all going through the same hell, she recalls. Zhang's work also reveals how some of the women who had met each other at comfort station stayed in touch for the rest of their lives. until they were no longer able to visit each other's homes. And this was long before the comfort women issues gained visibility in mass media. Moreover, last month in Tokyo, I visited not only the National Diet Library for more recent publications on the comfort women issue, but also the Women's Active Museum on War and Peace in Tokyo, because they don't allow pictures inside the museum. So I don't have any pictures of the inside of the museum. This is the entrance of the museum, and this is to the right is the outside the building of the museum. I think it's a building owned by the Nihon Kiristo Kyokaikan, so it's by Christian church or some community, Christian community. And I found on their website that you can get a sense of how the museum, inside of the museum looks like. They displays must be over 100 pictures of the victims and survivors from all over the world, not just from a particular country. And there was an exhibition on the work of Yayori Matsumoto Yayori, and she was an activist of the comfort women in Japan. Additionally, in Shanghai, I visited the Chinese Comfort Women History Museum on the campus of Shanghai Normal University, where the struggles of the former comfort women are visually displayed as material evidence of history. I took some pictures of the inside of the museum, and to the left, this is, I think, a copy of the individual rooms inside some of the comfort stations in Shanghai. And to the picture on the right, this is the policy of the comfort station. So we can see number 1, number 2, number 3. So you must not do this, you must do this. Also, they had copies of, for example, the thing on the picture to the right. I think this is the kind of a bed that they used to use to examine the comfort women's, do like physical examinations of the comfort women. And also they had pieces from the actual comfort stations in Shanghai. I believe this one is from one of the comfort stations that was taken down in 2016. So I had the pleasure of talking to the director of the museum, Professor Su Zhiliang. And Professor Su told me how they kind of struggled and also fought for keeping all these evidences from the history. And the picture to the left, this is the condoms that they used at the comfort station, and to the right, this is the medicine that the comfort women victims were told to use to clean their body. And I also was able to see the statue on the campus of Shanghai Normal University, and they had an empty chair to the right. So you have a Korean girl and then a Chinese girl, and I think the third chair is an indication of more people from the rest of the world. And I believe the statue was unveiled in 2016. So I found it intriguing that almost none of these victims in China actually joined the revolution in China, even after they had managed to escape the comfort station. So the question becomes, what do we truly mean by revolution in this context, if we agree that their memories and resistance can be revolutionary? It is definitely not the kind of revolution that writers and thinkers like Tamura envision in their ideology of the body and its sexual desire. It appears that the real drive for freedom, change, and salvation in these victims is rather rooted in their affection for other victims who were and are still in the same situation, leading to an interracial, intergenerational, and transnational solidarity among women arising from trauma and isolation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much, Junliang, about sharing your research with us. Thanks to the efforts of scholars such as you, Professor Peipei Chu, Junliang, and the teacher Zhang, the interest about the Chinese comfort women and the comfort women from other countries other than Korea are increasing, and the Comfort Women Justice Coalition in San Francisco is, which is a partner organization of CARE, is working on creating Eternal Testimony, the AI-based interactive video testimony of a Chinese comfort woman, Grandma Peng. And recently in October, we were just in Nanjing with judges Lilian Singh and Julie Tang to attend the opening of the beta test in Nanjing of the Eternal Testimony program. So this is wonderful. We need to work together more. And thank you so much for sharing your research. And I look forward to reading the full paper very soon. Okay. Last but not least, we have two wonderful artist faculty members from San Francisco State University. Without further ado, please welcome Katie Quan and Francis Wong.
Hi, everyone. I think I'm going first. So I will, let's see, share my screen. This project ended up becoming basically a three-part project, and I was not anticipating it to end up being that much, but there were so many stories to tell that keeping it to one project didn't feel possible. Is everyone able to see the full screen, I guess? Okay, perfect. So like I said, I created this into a three-part project. Two of them were art pieces, and then one of them was a curriculum piece for grades 6 all the way to 12. And I'll talk a little bit more about that kind of sprinkled here and there. But this Breaking Free piece was based off of Jan Ruff-O'Hearn's memoir, 50 Years of Silence. It's a small little memoir, but it's incredibly impactful. And so when I was reading it, I was really moved. I think one of the things that I wanted to demonstrate with this is be able to tell a story from someone who was not necessarily Asian, or and speak a little bit more about her experience as a Dutch Indonesian or living in Indonesia comfort woman at the time. And so this piece ended up becoming 20 pages. It's a zine and is currently online for free. And so I'll show you a couple snippets from it. Most of these snippets are actually from the memoir herself, and I just illustrated it into a black and white piece so that when you bring it into a classroom that you can actually print it out if you'd like. And so because this tackles her experience as a comfort woman, that I would really only recommend this for high school and up. I do know that at least here in San Francisco, they're beginning to bring in comfort women as a world history topic in grades 10. And so one of the future plans is to actually try and get this into those schools. But one of the difficulties with this piece was being able to talk about comfort women and talk about these very traumatic things that had happened in a graphic form. And so questions of how do you do this? How do you tell that story without traumatizing one yourself and then also the reader in the process was something that I had to really think through. And it took many days and many weeks to really bring myself to have the courage and the strength to tell that story. And that was through mainly reading other pieces where they also had sexual assault as being the main storyline to be able to do so. And so Jan talks a lot about how she really actively fought back against Japanese pursuit, and talked about how she cut her hair as an act of resistance, wanting to be bald and ugly. And unfortunately, she says that after that, she became more of a spectacle and became more of a curiosity. So it drew more attention to herself than actually repelling the attention she wanted, or that she was trying to take away from herself. And so this is a 20-page piece with one of the curriculum pieces that I created. All of the curriculum includes essential questions. It includes compelling questions, so having a yes/no question, having questions for more discussion, and then using the acronym ART, A for analyze, R for reflect, and T for transform and act. How do we encourage students to understand the issue and then create something that where they can use their knowledge from previously to create a new future or to dive further into it. And so for this particular piece, I have students reading the zine and then also doing think, pair, and share, asking students to talk a little bit more about the role of agency, what impact of being a comfort woman did it have on Jan's life, and in a lot of ways, why did it take her so long to speak out, and asking students to really think about that, and why would one choose not to speak out as well. And then I have, at least for this activity, the Transform and Act, where they would be assigned to read 5 testimonials from victims and discussing with their partners a little bit about what makes these testimonials different, circle and highlighting any sentences, discussing a little bit more about it, and then beginning to draw their own posters of what it could look like, or what these stories tell, and the main theme of it all. So this is more or less the first and semi-second part of the project. The last part I would like to present is my poster. I created this poster called Justice for Comfort Woman. It is based off of the memorial that's here in San Francisco. It was built in 2017, and by building it, it actually severed the sister cities between Osaka and San Francisco. And so based off of a lot of the posters and a lot of the rallies that I had seen online, I created this poster to tell a little bit more of that story, and also talk about how internationally renowned it has become. And so I have a few different activities for teachers who may be interested, but one of them I call I Spy, and in a basically one-day kind of activity, students will observe the poster and be able to answer questions like, what do the yellow butterflies symbolize? And what does symbolism mean in sort of these kinds of movements? And then being able to use not only observation skills, but reflections as well. So one, protesting in front of memorials as former comfort women, what do you think must have been going through these women's minds? And now that you know more about the issue, what do you consider an appropriate apology or action from the Japanese government? And so challenging students to think more about how they would handle the issue, or what they want to see from governments as being sort of that course of action. In a longer activity, I also have students looking at the poster, but also understanding what the role of monuments are, what is the role of memorials, what do they play in larger movements, how does gender also play during times of war. Again, talking more about agency, how have these women continued to show agency throughout their life, whether they seem like it or not. And in a lot of ways, why should we still care? Asking students why this issue is still relevant, and challenging them to think more about how the past really influences our current, present, and then also our future. And I guess I said last but not least, but this is the last part. I have these curriculum for free online with Francis, Wong, who will be presenting next, and then Lynn and Flora. They all helped on these different curriculums. And so this is really separated into 8 pieces of lesson guides, 3 of them for grades 6 to 8 that talk about war and imperialism, and then grades 9 to 12 that talk about comfort women. And we use dance, we use music, and we use language arts and visual arts to really talk about the issue and make sure that this is accessible in many different ways. But just in case, if you'd like I said, these are all free. And so if you have anybody who wants to use any of these kinds of curriculum in their own classrooms for elementary and high school age, feel free to do so. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Since 2016, when California Department of Education included the comfort women issue in the 10th grade history social science framework, there has been much interest from the educators and the high school teachers of world history and other subject matter about the comfort women issue, but it has been difficult for them to teach this history in the classrooms because they were not familiar with the history themselves, and they didn't have materials like lesson plans and teaching materials readily available for them. So CARE and the CWJC have been working very hard to provide teaching materials, lesson plans, but this is just wonderful. It's so well thought, and I think teachers will be very happy to take advantage of your great work, Katie. And it'll be your work will make it very easy for the teachers to bring it to the classroom. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's hear from Francis now.
Thank you very much. It is truly humbling to be a part of this and to have contributed to this process, And yeah, I had a great time working with Katie. We've been together at SF State for a while, and to be able to work together, and it was nice to contribute scores and to the curriculum. And so let me pull up my screen here. Let's see, I gotta pull that up. So the project that I did was it's called Remembrance Rising, and in tribute to the World War II comfort women, and it's an interdisciplinary work featuring poetry, dance, music, in dialogue with the public art piece Comfort Women Column of Strength Memorial in St. Mary's Square. As Katie mentioned, that the memorial was quite controversial, and did what do you call it? There was a backlash against it in Japantown and from the Japanese government, and so it took quite a bit of effort to bring that to actually bring the issue and the memorial to Chinatown. So what I had in mind was to one of the things that we try to do as musicians and performing artists is to animate the existing memorials with creative performing arts works. So this one is in my composition, and then I had dancers Lin Huang and Flora Kim Han, tuba performer William Roper, violinist Sandy Poindexter, and percussionist Karen Stackpole, and Katie advised us on the historical content. And we had a rehearsal process and performances, both an indoor performance at the Manilatown Heritage Center, Filipino community arts space, and then the performance in front of the Comfort Women space. So let's see here. So here's the it's Flora, Lynn, Katie, and then so one of the things that was quite important was to also bringing a certain cross-cultural solidarity to this by including African American artists that I collaborate a lot with, and which of course is a very important part of the Asian American social justice movement here in the United States, is this idea of solidarity against all forms of slavery. And so there was a certain amount of kind of intercultural discourse as part of this. Here's just a still from early in the piece, where you can see part of what we're doing is of embodying the memorial, bringing alive that through the movement of the dancers. And then here's some more. So you can get an idea what the ensemble looks like. And then I'm gonna play a little bit of this. Just have to make sure I do this right. Do I have to press a button to share the sound on this thing, or?
Good afternoon. While I sat at that City Hall black woman in of the 200,000 about comfort woman,
Okay, here we go. You can hear this, right? Okay.
I don't hear the sound.
No, okay. I mean, I think there's a button here on Zoom that I'm supposed to share sound. Okay, let's try this again. Can you hear it now? Hey. Okay. So yeah, the piece is it's about 30 minutes long, and then with the talking there was some explanation, but it was about an hour long, and we had a production support from different community organizations, Lenore Elite Dance Company, API Cultural Center, my organization, Asian Improv Arts, Manila Town Heritage, and also we got additional funding support from Grants for the Arts in the City, California Arts Council, San Francisco Park and Rec, and yeah, there's the cast. So thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, everyone. It is so great to see the artistic actions and activities happening in front of the Comfort Women column of strength in St. Mary's Square in San Francisco. That, myself included, Comfort Women Justice Coalition in San Francisco have worked so hard to bring for 2 years, from 2015 to 2017. So this will be it for our presentations, and there have been some questions in the chat room, and if you have any more questions, we will try to answer. Lillian asked a question about I think it's been answered by Junliang, right? Comfort women victims being part of or not being part of the revolution. And there was a question about the recent Korean court ruling awarding the comfort women victims the legal compensation by the Japanese government. Is there a realistic possibility, was the question. I think it'll take another webinar dedicated to the legal aspect of the recent ruling, but just briefly, the consensus is that Japan will most likely ignore the ruling and do nothing to follow the court order. So in any case, court ruling only fulfills, we have to remember there are 6 international standards to resolve the comfort women issue and the similar international human rights violation. That is, first, acknowledgement of the state crime and the official apology and legal compensation. So that's one of them. Full investigation, which has not happened. Published punishment of those responsible, that had not happened. Ongoing education. The education is shrinking in Japan for the comfort women issue. So this only takes care, even if it works out for the survivors, it only takes care of the 1 out of 6 international standards to resolve the comfort women issue. So we have to demand all 6 standards, not just 1. So we have to remember it is our responsibility to know that it is the public opinions and the international pressure to push Japanese government, not the court ruling, that, to do the right thing. So we must constantly put pressure on Japanese government by asking them over and over again the very question, how and when are they going to resolve the issue according to the international standards? So with that, is there anything else our panelists want to add? Thank you so much. We will wrap it up, and just wanted to say that thank you so much, everyone, for participating, and thank you so much your hard work to bring out these wonderful products. Again, this recording will be available online, either CARE's YouTube channel or website. So please look for that, and please remember this was just a shorter version of their work, just for the purpose of the presentation. So I asked them to shorten their work. So you will be able to see the full version online. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. We will keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Phyllis.